I never did because I'm lazy.
Go do it.
I'm gonna do it after this stream. It takes a while. It's an hour.
That last stream.
Yeah,
We have fun here.
It's an hour-long stream, and YouTube takes forever to upload an hour-long videos. Okay, all right. Thanks. Get off my back. All right.
That does take a long time.
It does.
Run this whole shebang. Doesn't even fucking run it.
Listen, I have other side things.
Yeah, makes
you.
Rock Iron Green 12 said Wubsy XD. Haha. Who wants to read the chat?
I'm gonna change my name.
I will read the chat as always.
Okay.
Yee.
All right. So first, we're if you didn't see the title and you didn't hear what I said prior, we're doing Greek god and goddesses. You know, there's a lot of them, a lot of incest that happens, and a lot of eating of babies. So
Yeah,
that's
eating
gonna
your own
be
fucking
in-
children, yeah.
Can I sum it up for everyone?
Go
Yep.
ahead.
Basically, Greek mythology is Zeus. I'm gonna stick my dick in it. Everyone else, Zeus, no! And then Zeus, too late!
We also gotta bear in mind though, that also gods in like Zeus and all the other gods also had half babies with humans. Just a little fun fact to put in there.
They were kinky.
Yes, they literally had offsprings with anything that breathed. So I'm just gonna start in like the orders we're gonna go in. So I'm doing Ceres. She does go by a different name, but for the purpose of me pronouncing it right, I'm just gonna call her Ceres because that's how I knew her as when I was studying her as my deity. She does have other names, but I'm just gonna refer to her as that. And so I'm gonna probably the first one to go since mine is like the mother of these two. So the mother and mother-in-law.
I love how I waved, but nobody can see me.
You're not the fucking mother of Hades.
No, mother-in-law. Mother-in-law.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Mother-in-law.
Well, mother-in-law by force.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, technically, yeah. She was just kidnapped.
I'm in the semi-force.
I'm doing series. Ben, you want to say who you're doing? Ben, you want to say what god or goddess you're doing?
I am doing Persephone, who is also known as Kor.
Ooh.
Lilith, go on.
Lily.
Oh, like I said, I don't know the order, and I'm not looking at the stream, so you guys gotta cue me.
It's your.
You did.
It's after Ben. It's you. So when you hear Ben, when you
Okay.
hear Ben not talk anymore, that's when your turn.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm doing Pan and Aphrodite.
Go on,
Dirty.
Smol.
You're already doing the name for Persephone's mother for whenever I studied Hades, and I'm doing Hades, was Demeter.
Mhm.
So, ta-da.
Wait, so are you
I'm
doing
doing-
Persephone's mother as well?
No, it's just she's mentioned a lot.
Oh, okay. So
as
which
well
one are you?
is Persephone with Hades and everything.
Oh yeah, you're doing Hades. Okay, yeah.
That's why I was saying I'll go, and then Small should go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys hear that name, just remember it's Ceres too, but that's her other name as well. And then continue, Blake.
I'm doing Nyx, which is ironically the background for the stream.
Oh, really? Oh, so I did do Greek. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're fine. You're safe.
Cool. All right. All right.
Safe.
So I'll go in and start. So for everyone, I'm doing Ceres. She is also referred to as the Earth Mother because she was the the goddess that tended to the crops and helped the mortals tend to their farms and made the lands fertile for them to grow. So that was mainly strictly her job. That was her department. She lived in the valley of how do you say it? It's like Enna.
ENA?
Enna.
Enna? Okay.
Yeah, Enna.
She lived in the valley of Enna, She gifted mankind with like I said, the culture, agriculture, and the discovery of wheat. She was also responsible for the oxygen that you breathe, and she also protected and nourished the young seeds in the ground that were planted. She was the daughter of Persephone. She had so she is she's the mother of Persephone, and the
Yeah,
dad,
you said she's the daughter of Persephone.
did I say that? I'm sorry. The mother of Persephone.
She's my
And
mother. She's my daughter. She's my mother. She's my
the
daughter.
mother.
She's something.
Persephone. I read it backwards, so sorry. And she had Persephone with Zeus, who is also known by Jupiter. She was kidnapped by Persephone. Her daughter was kidnapped by Pluto, which is AKA Hades.
Yo.
And
Yo, what's up?
so I think the story how it went was they were in the valley, and she was like, minding her own business, basically attending to the crops and all that stuff, and her daughter was out in the meadows, and I think Hades had lured her in with a flower.
I will
Yeah.
tell you more when it comes to me.
Yeah, so it'll be more specific when it gets down to them. So they lured her daughter in with a flower, and that's how Hades dragged her into the underworld. And poor Ceres over here, she was like, what happened? Where's my daughter? So
Where's my daughter?
she didn't know of Hades and the deal with Zeus and everything else like that. So she went on a journey to find her daughter. And during that journey, she disguised herself as a woman and became acquainted with the house of Celes, and introduced herself to his 4 daughters. She was brought into their household as a nurse by the young and was supposed to care for the youngest boy that they had there. And while she was in that household, she became really attached to that family, and it's mainly due to the fact that the young boy, because due with her loss of her daughter, she had an empty kind of void in her, and caring for that little boy was like her way of coping or comforting. It was comforting for her. So while taking care of this boy, who I mind you was mortal. It wasn't a god. He was mortal. She wanted to keep him forever. And by doing this, she decided to make him immortal. And when she did that, she was startled by the mother of the little boy, because I guess she was like hunched over him in a sense where it looked like she was going to harm the little boy. So with the screams of the mother of that little boy, it broke the spell that she was casting, and with that she revealed herself and basically told them, look, you ruined my spell. Your little boy was precious, and I wanted to make him immortal, and tonight was the only night I can do it, and since you broke my spell, I can no longer do it, and he is doomed to grow old and die. And she got angry at this, and so they basically hobbled when she revealed herself as the goddess, and they asked her for forgiveness. So in order for them to receive forgiveness, she said she'll grant so if they built a temple in her name, and she will also teach the people the secret of the rites to make the corn grow. And after the temple was built, though, she forgave them. She never taught them how the secret of the rites. So I don't know. I think they probably like died. It didn't really give any light to.
It never really says, does it?
No.
Well, I have a little more to mention whenever we get to her.
Okay. So after.
So do I.
Okay. So,
Sweet.
So wait, of that story or just of?
Just
No.
in
There's
general.
more.
All right. So after that time spent in that household, she went to a nearby cave to mourn the loss of her daughter. And within that cave, she sealed herself away from everyone, the gods and the mortal world and all that other stuff. And with her being gone, it caused a famine, a really bad famine, and people were dying, and the crops were dying. So Jupiter, aka Zeus, grew concerned because without her doing her job, all life on Earth will die. So he sent Iris to try to talk her out of her sorrows. But she swore that she will no longer make the world fertile until her daughter returned. So Jupiter sent Mercury, I think, which is it Iris? I think it's Iris, to try to get Persephone back from Hades. And we are going to go into that, so I'm not going to go into the deal that they made.
Looking for the Twizzlers.
But I will say that she was tricked by Hades. So she has to return back to the underworld every 4 months out of the year. And there is a reason why, but I'm not going to go into it because it's another god, it's someone else's god, and I'm pretty sure they'll go into it. So,
of course.
Mercury is Hermes.
Hermes. Okay. So Zeus sent Hermes to try to get Persephone back from Hades, and he agreed. Hades agreed, but under a few conditions, which, like, again, they'll go into further detail. So basically, she ate. Oh, when oh no, I'm not gonna get into that. Sorry, because I have notes for Persephone and that because it was all clumped into one because it's just like my research prior. So 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 she has to go back into the underworld every 4 months, which created autumn and winter.
Every 6 months.
Yeah. Well, yeah. This created autumn as a small gift. As a small gift from Ceres, she turns the leaves brown and orange because that was Persephone's favorite color. So every year before Persephone goes back into the underworld, as her going away gift to her daughter, that's the reason why the leaves turn to a different color. It's a little sad. Cool. It's sad. It's sad, but
well, yeah.
It's a little sad.
Do you want the father, the husband-in-law to go next?
There's still a little bit more. When she leaves, so fall is the shifting, and then winter is when Persephone returns back to the underworld. So when winter falls, she returns to the cave to mourn. Ceres returns to the cave and mourn, and the earth goes cold and barren. That's why nothing can grow within winter, and that's why it's cold, and that's why crops die. And when her daughter returns, that's when spring and summer start. I don't know if I'll say this correctly, but the Celia, or the fall of Ceres, was created in around April to rejoice the return. So I think it is a sort of a witchy holiday, if I'm not mistaken. But it's also celebrated by other people who do tend to worship her as a deity. It's like a spring festival surrounded for her from that story.
Is that why most countries around the world have like spring celebrations?
Kind of. It's like it does derive from that, but there is an actual celebration that they do for her specifically.
I bet they do that mainly in Greece, though. So
I think so too, and it's also celebrated by some witches who do take her on as a deity to like keep to keep close with her, and that's what I was studying too. I have more notes. Hold on, it's in my thingy.
So spring is not. No, so fall is basically the parting gift.
Yeah, the parting.
Yeah.
There's also a fall festival, but I have those notes in my thing. Hold on.
I mean, we have
Is
one of those
it
up in.
Mabon?
Is it the summer
is it?
solstice, and then you have the winter solstice?
The
Shit like that?
fall equinox, Mabon.
Fall
Yes.
equinox, yeah.
Yes, and then
The spring equinox, yeah, okay.
So so the colors associated with her are green, orange, brown, and yellow. And her
What about the red leaves? Red leaves.
red leaves?
Yeah, the red leaves.
It might just also be maybe Persephone's color too, but again, like I'm not too 100% sure. We'd have to ask Benny on that when we get to it. But I do know the colors associated with her are green, orange, brown, and yellow. Her favorite stone is the quartz stone. So that's the stone associated with her. And
She and I have something in common then.
yeah. And she has other stones too. She has the diamond stone and the it's like a fake diamond, basically.
Oh.
And her festival, so she has one in April and one in May. And it starts April 19th, the Cirila one. It's April 19th. And then there's another one, which I cannot pronounce, but I'll type it in chat if anyone want to pronounce it.
Yeah, I can try.
Where is it? Here it is. Okay, so...
The holy apples. I just love this.
There you go. That's the other festival.
Amvervalia.
Yeah. So that festival is at the end of May. And she's also related to, I think, the Roman god. Or I don't know if she's a Roman. I think she might be a Roman god. She has a close relationship with Angoria, which was also which is also like they're basically the same type of gods. So they're classified under the same thing. And I don't know if I wrote down any chants for that holiday specifically. I'm looking at all the... Okay, so here's one that I did write that was to prepare for... was a prayer for her. So, one that says... So this is more or less said probably around for her festival, which is in April. And this is the prayer to Earth Mother. Great Earth Mother, we give you praise today and ask for your blessing upon us. As seeds sprout forward and grass grows green and winds blow gently and the rivers flow and the sun shines down upon our land, we offer thanks to you for our blessings and our gifts of life each spring.
Wait a minute. When is Earth Day?
Earth Day?
Yeah, because is that one of the holidays that we celebrate for Sirius?
It might.
I mean, Earth Day.
It might just be like again, like this is all like they all have like different links to what we do for modern day, because this I think Greek is one of the oldest religions out there, other than Egyptian. I said on my book. There is another one that I did write, and I don't know if it's directly to her, but I'm assuming it is because there is a festival in May. So, and this one is to May Queen. So yeah, this is a prayer in honor of the May Queen. So I'm assuming it's for her, because it's with.
I mean, I would think so.
So it says the leaves are budding across the land on the ash and oak and hawthorn trees. Magic arises around us in the forest, and the hedges are filled with laughter and love. Dear lady, we offer you a gift, a gathering of flowers picked by our hands, when woven into a circle of endless life and brought colors of nature herself, blended together in honor of you, Queen of Spring. As we give you honor, Queen of Spring, as we give you honor this day, spring is here and the land is fertile, ready to offer up our gifts in your name. We pray and tribute, daughter of the Fae, and ask your blessing this day.
Now that I'm hearing this, the fall festival where I used to live makes more sense now.
Yeah. So those are all part of it. She's a heavily into she's basically just the reason why we have the spring, why we have the seasons, and the reason why our lands and stuff all grow crops, and the right reasons why our soil is fertile. So that is my dive on my goddess. So if you want to continue it from there, Benny.
Okay, I did Persephone, the daughter, and she also is known as Kor. I believe people refer to Persephone as when she was kidnapped by Hades, but before that she was Kor. That's what I got from everything.
How do you
But
spell
she
the
was
core?
the Greek goddess of vegetation. Kore.
Oh, okay.
She was the Greek goddess of vegetation, especially grain, and she was the wife of Hades, with whom she rules the underworld. The goddess was worshipped throughout the Greek world and frequently appeared in all forms of Greek art. In many ancient cults, the goddess, along with her mother Demeter, is associated with vegetation and grain. In this guise, she is most often referred to as Kor, signifying both daughter and maiden. In Greek mythology, the goddess, as wife of Hades, is queen of the underworld, and takes her other name Persephone in this guise. She was seen as a protectress in the afterlife. In various other myths, Persephone is the mother of Dionysus, with Zeus, who is also her father. According to mythology, Hades, the god of the underworld, fell in love with the beautiful Persephone when he saw her picking flowers one day in a meadow. The god then carried her off in his chariot to live with him in the dark underworld. In some accounts, Zeus has given his consent to the abduction.
Yeah.
The location of the crime being traditionally placed in Sicily, famed for its fertility, or Asia. Meanwhile, Demeter searched the earth for her lost daughter, and though Helios or Hermes told her of her daughter's fate, they built the temple as was previously told, and once the temple was completed, Demeter withdrew from the world. Though the version I read had said she lived in the temple that was built. So
Wait, in the
but
one
There's
she-
now?
multiple versions, seems like.
yeah, and then also in this version it says she created a great drought to convince the other gods to release Persephone from Hades.
Yeah, there's two different stories.
There's
so.
several different things.
Yeah.
But this is just what I found. As the drought claimed more victims, Zeus finally sent Hermes to persuade Hades to release his ill-gotten bride. Before giving her up, though, the wily Hades put a pomegranate kernel in the girl's mouth, knowing its divine taste would compel her to return to him. Though in other myths... Hold on, I lost my place.
Was there a one that described her tricking, him tricking her?
Yeah,
Yep.
Well, the story is that it would compel her to return to him, and then the other story was he tricked her, yes, into eating the pomegranate seed, because in the other version, Persephone could leave as long as she had not eaten anything grown in the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
And
Anyway,
did it give
however,
you details about the seed?
Hmm.
yeah, it gets into that later.
Okay.
However, either on her own accord, or more probably after being tricked by Hades, Persephone had tasted one pomegranate seed before leaving the underworld. This, according to ancient laws, obliged her to remain in the underworld. Zeus proposed a compromise. Persephone would spend 2/3 of the year with her mother and 1/3 with her new husband. Everybody agreed, and that's how the seasons were born and how the growth of crops was explained. Just like a pomegranate seed, Persephone spends a few months of the year below the earth. This is the period of Demeter's grief, which coincides with the dark winter months. However, when the time comes for Persephone to go back to her mother, Demeter brings light and warmth, and the earth rejoices. The story of Demeter and Persephone was perhaps symbolic in the changing of the seasons and such, as well as the change from life to death to life once more. In other words, summer to winter and spring and all that. The cycle became basically, as we said, one of the rituals and one of the symbols of the cult, which is Eleusine. I will send it in the chat.
All right, give me a sec.
I'll just send it in chitter chatter.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Eleusinian.
Okay. So in sacred Eleusinian mystery, the symbols of the cult were ears of grain and a torch, reminding everyone of Demeter's search for Persephone, and all the rituals were carried out at night. All initiates were born by a sacred oath not to reveal the details of the mysteries, and they have remained to this day a mystery.
Oh, wow.
The cycle for one of the rituals. Another interpretation of the Persephone myth may be that it represents when the Greeks stored their grain for underground for the part of the year in order to protect it from the summer heat. In favor of this, the argument is that in Greece's climate, seeds are sown in the autumn and quickly germinate to grow throughout the winter time. Therefore, Persephone's time in Hades would not equate with winter in the agricultural season, but rather with summer. The cult of Persephone was especially strong in Sicily and southern Italy. And besides the Eleusinian mysteries at Eleusis, there were sanctuaries to the goddess across the Greek world. And I'm just going to send, most noticeably, I'm going to send you just the list.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know otherwise I'll butcher it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants that.
Nope.
Don't
I
pull
guess
me.
Guess I'm glad I took Latin back in school.
Yeah.
Locri, Epsiphri, Matinea, and Megalopolis.
And Sparta. Here, annual festivities celebrated Persephone's marriage and her picking of flowers. The Themophoria was a Greek-wide celebration of the goddess and her mother, exclusive to women. It was held annually before the sowing period when sacrifices were made and purified pigs' remains were mixed with the seed. So yeah, there's that.
Well, I guess,
Persephone in her... Wait, what were you saying?
fertilizer. That's the word.
Okay. Persephone in her guise as queen of the underworld was often appealed to in cursed tablets and on inscribed gold leaves buried with the dead followers of Orpheism. which gave instructions on how to conduct themselves in the afterlife. And that's all I have.
Cool. Next up is the lovely Hades.
My boy,
The little bitch.
my boo.
Joking.
Now I want you all to picture the Disney Hades. You got that in your head?
No,
Oh,
that
he
dude.
thought.
When I was reading my story about mine a while ago,
No, I said I
just
want you to picture the
pictured
Disney
him.
Hades.
Yeah, I know. I pictured
Now fuck
him.
that. That's not the That's not the fucking Hades.
I pictured him though.
Yeah.
I pictured
I'm
him.
not gonna
Everybody
He's a
does.
mortal man that carries a trident of his own making and black hair.
Nah,
He
he has
is-
blue hair that's on fire.
I pictured James Woods be like, "I take your daughter, thanks." Like, thank you.
I'll be. Can I have this? Thanks, I'm taking it.
I'm taking
Yeah,
it
go ahead.
anyway. Like, I guess.
Anyway, back on track
A moment.
because we don't want to stray too far.
Oh my god. Hades, in the ancient Greek religion and myth, is the god of the dead and the king of the underworld, with which his name became synonymous. Hades was the eldest son of Kronos and Rhea, although the last son was regurgitated by his father, meaning he threw him the fuck up. He and his brothers, Zeus and Poseidon, defeated their father's generation of gods, the Titans, and claimed rulership over the cosmos. Hades received the underworld. Zeus the sky, and Poseidon the sea, with the solid earth, long the province of Gaia, available to all three concurrently. Hades was often portrayed with his three-headed guard dog Cerberus, the Etruscan god Aita, and the Roman gods Dispater and Orcus, were eventually to taken as equivalent to Hades and merged into Pluto. The Latinization of Pluton itself is a euphemistic title often given to Hades. Hades obtained his wife and queen Persephone through abduction at the behest of Zeus. This myth is the most important one Hades takes part in. It is also connected to the Eleusinian, there it is, mysteries with the Olympian pantheon, particularly as represented in the Homeric hymn to Demeter, which is the oldest story of abduction, most likely dating back to the beginning of the 6th century BC. Helios told the grieving Demeter that Hades was not unworthy as a consort for Persephone. Aidoneus, the ruler of many, is no unfitting husband among the deathless gods for your child, being your own brother and born of the same stock. Also for honor, he has that third share which he received when division was made at the first, and is appointed lord of those among whom he dwells. Despite modern connotations of death as evil, Hades was actually more altruistically inclined in mythology. Hades was often portrayed as a passive rather than evil. His role was often maintaining relative balance. That said, he was also depicted as cold and stern, and he held all of his subjects equally accountable to his laws. Any other individual aspects of his personality are not given, as Greeks refrained from giving him much thought to avoid attracting his attention. Hades ruled the dead, assisted by others over whom he had complete authority. The house of Hades was described as full of guests, though he rarely left the underworld. He cared little about what happened in the world above, as his primary attention was ensuring none of his subjects ever left. He strictly forbade his subjects to leave his domain, and would become quite enraged when anyone tried to leave, or if someone tried to steal the souls from his realm. His wrath was equally terrible for anyone who tried to cheat death or otherwise crossed him. Asclepius and Pirithous found out to their sorrow. While usually indifferent to his subjects, Hades was very focused on the punishment of those two people, particularly Pirithous, as he entered the underworld in an attempt to steal Persephone for himself, and consequently was forced onto the chair of forgetfulness. Another myth is about the Greek god Asclepius, who was originally a demigod son of Apollo and Cronus, a Thessalian princess. During his lifetime, he became a famous, talented physician, blah, blah, who eventually was able to bring the dead back to life. Feeling cheated, Pluton persuaded Zeus to kill him with a thunderbolt. After his death, he was brought to Olympus, where he became a god. Hades was only depicted outside the underworld once in a myth, and even that is believed to have been an instance where he had just left the gates of the underworld, which was when Hercules shot him with an arrow as Hades was
I
attempting to
have
defend the
to.
city
Can
of
I please
Plios.
do it?
Yes.
Honey, you mean Hercules?
I'm gonna kill you. Anyway, after he was shot, however, he traveled to Olympus to heal. If I swear to God you say this again, I have the name
I
again.
won't. I did it once and I got it out of my system.
Alright. Besides Hercules, Heracles. Keep saying his name wrong because that's... Ugh.
Because
The
of
only other living people who ventured to the underworld were also heroes. Odysseus, Aeneas, and accompanied by the Sibyl. Orpheus, who Hades showed uncharacteristic mercy towards Persephone's persuasion, who was moved by Orpheus's music. Theseus, with Pirithous, and in a late romance, Psyche. None of them were pleased with what they witnessed in the realm of the dead. In particular, the Greek war hero Achilles, whom Odysseus conjured with the blood libation, said, O shining Odysseus, never try to console me for dying. I would rather follow the plow as thrall to another man, one with no land allotted to him and not much to live on, than be a king over all the perished dead. And now on to our poor little girl Persephone.
Hi.
Hi. The consort of Hades, daughter of Zeus and Demeter. She did not submit to Hades willingly, but was abducted by him while picking flowers in the fields of Nyssa. Her father Zeus had previously given Persephone to Hades to be his wife, as is stated in the very first lines of the Homeric hymn to Demeter. In protest of his act, Demeter cast a curse on the land, and there was a great famine. Though one by one, the gods came to request she lift it, lest mankind perish, because the gods to be deprived of their receiving gifts and sacrifices. Demeter asserted that the earth would remain barren until she saw her daughter again. Zeus then sends for his son Hermes and instructs him to go down to the underworld in hopes that he may be able to convince Hades to allow Persephone to return to Earth, so that Demeter might see Persephone and cause the famine to stop. Hermes obeys and goes down to Hades' realm, wherein he finds Hades seated upon a couch, Persephone seated next to him. Hermes relays Zeus' message, and Hades complies, saying, Go now, Persephone, to your dark-robed mother. Go, and feel kindly in your heart towards me. Be not so exceedingly cast down, for I shall be no unfitting husband for you among the deathless gods, that I am own brother to Father Zeus. And while you are here, you shall rule all that lives and moves, and shall have the greatest right among the deathless gods. Those who defraud you and do not appease your power with offerings, reverently performing rites and paying fit gifts, shall be punished for everyone. Afterwards, Hades readies his chariot, but not before he secretly gives Persephone a pomegranate seed to eat. Hermes takes the reins, and he and Persephone make their way to earth above, coming to a halt in front of Demeter's temple at Eleusis, where the goddess has been waiting. Demeter and Persephone run toward each other and embrace one another, happy that they are reunited. Demeter, however, suspects that Persephone may have eaten food while down there. So she questions Persephone, saying, My child, tell me, surely you have not tasted any food while you were below. Speak out and hide nothing, but let us both know. For if you have not, you shall come back from loathly Hades and live with me and your father, the dark-clouded son of Kronos, and be honored by all the deathless gods. But if you have tasted food, you must go back again beneath the secret places of the earth, there to dwell a third part of the seasons every year. Yet for the 2 parts you shall be with me and the other deathless gods. But when the earth shall bloom fragrant flowers of spring in every kind, then from the realm of darkness and gloom thou shalt come up once more to wander for gods and mortal men. And now tell me how he wrapped you away to the realm of darkness and gloom, and by what trick did the strong host of many beguile you. Persephone does admit that she ate the food of the dead, as she tells Demeter that Hades gave her a pomegranate seed and forced her to eat it. Persephone's eating of the pomegranate seed binds her to Hades in the underworld, much to the dismay of her mother. Zeus, however, had previously proposed a compromise, to which all parties had agreed. Of the year, Persephone was spent one-third with her husband. It is during this time, when Persephone is down in the underworld with her husband, that winter falls upon the earth, an aspect of sadness and mourning. Ta-da. That's Hades, my lovelies.
Oh, that's my man.
Gosh. Okay. Blake. It
Alright,
is.
hold on.
Huh?
Hold on, I'm getting my notes up. Alright. So next,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Making sure. Did Jack do research on someone?
Did what now?
Did
Did Jack
any
do research on anyone? Or
I don't know. Just go
alright.
anyway,
Yeah.
and then if he
Yeah,
did,
okay.
he'll say something.
Alright. So my research was based around Nyx, who is the primordial goddess of the night. Nyx is the Greek goddess or personification of the night. As a shadowy figure, Nyx stood at or near the beginning of creation and mothered other personified deities such as Hypnos, sleep, and Thetanos, death, with Cerberus, darkness. Appearances are sparse in surviving mythology, but revealed her as a figure of such exceptional power and beauty that she was feared by Zeus himself. Her Abdon is known to be Tartarus. Tartarus is the deep abyss that is known as a dungeon for torment and suffering of the wicked, as well as the prison for titans. Her parents are known to be Chaos. Chaos refers to a void state preceding the creation of the universe or cosmos in the Greek creation myth, or to the initial quote unquote gap created by the original separation of heaven and earth. Out of chaos came Jija, Tartarus, and Eros. Elsewhere, the son of Aphrodite, and unambiguously born from chaos were Empress and Nyx. Her consort slash sibling is Ibris, which was often conceived as the primordial deity representing the personification of darkness. For instance, Heteroid's theology identifies him as one of the first five belonging in existence born of chaos. And for consort, if you guys don't know what consort is a wife, husband, or companion, in particular the spouse of a reigning monarch. They had a lot of children. I'm not sure if you want me to go into depth of the children or you just want me to mention them briefly. It's up to you guys.
That's
I
up
don't
to
mind.
you. If it's your research, you can do it.
Yeah.
I know. Okay. All right. So Aether is one of the primordial deities. Aether is the personification of the upper sky. Harmoida is the personification of day and one of the Greek primordial deities. She is the goddess of the daytime, and according to Helios, the daughter of Empress and Nyx, the goddess of the night. Meros is the being of impending doom, who drives mortals to their deadly fates. Albites is the personification of deceit. Her mother was Nyx, and the personification of night. Her Roman equivalent was Phros, i.e., fraud, and her male counterpart was Dolos, Damien of trickery, and the opposite number was Athert, the spirit of truth. Dolos is spelled Dolos or Dolus, is the spirit of trickery and guilt. He is also a master at cunning deceit, craftiness, and treachery. Nemesis is the goddess who enacts retribution against those succumbed to hubris, arrogance against the gods. The Carnias were the female death spirits. They were the goddesses who personified violent death and were drawn to the bloody deaths on battlefields. The Morai were the incarnations of The Roman equivalent was the parses, which means the sparing ones, and they are other Clivitan culture that derived from the Polo-Indo-European culture. The Hesperides is the nymphs of evening and gold light of Somerset, who were the daughters of the evening, or nymphs of the west. Oasis is the goddess of misery, anxiety, grief, and depression. Momos is the Greek mythology. It's the Greek mythology personification of satire and mockery. The Nore are dreams that were sometimes personified to become life. Hypnos is the personification of sleep, as in hypnosis. Theranos, Thertanos was the personification of death. They were a minor figure in Greek mythology, and he really appeared in person. Uh, Philortes was the minor goddess or spirit who personified affection, friendship, and sex. Gras was the goddess of old age. Eris was the goddess of strife and discord. And Oros was the Greek god of love and sex as well. Their Roman counterpart is Cupid. Um, Now there's two different main stories of Nyx, and then there is one that doesn't fall into either one of them. So keep that in mind. I'll mention the creator of the story, and then I'll read from it. All right.
Sounds good.
So from Hesperoid, in Hesperoid's theology, Nyx is born of chaos with Ibris. Nyx gives birth to Aether, brightness, and Chimera, day. Later on, Nyx gave birth to her many children on her own description of Thotarus. No, Tartarus. English. Perseid locates their home of Nyx and home of the children, Hypnos and Platanos. Further, that Nyx's daughter, Hermade, Hermade, left Thotarus just as Nyx night entered it. Continuing this circle where Hermida returns, Nyx left, and vice versa. This mirrors the portrayal of Bhakti Knights in the Rigveda, where she works in close cooperation, but also tensions with her sister Usha Dawn. So this is basically explaining the day-night cycle. Her daughter enters, she leaves. When the mother enters, she leaves. Homer, this is the slide from Homer. Hypnos, the minor deity of sleep, reminds Hera of an old favor after she asked him to put Zeus to sleep. He had once before put Zeus to sleep at the bidding of Hera, allowing her to create Hercules, who was returned by sea from Laomedon's Troy. Great misfortune. Zeus was furious and would have to smite. I said smote, but I think it means smite. Smite Hydros into the sea if he had not fled to Nyx, his mother in fear. Homer goes on to say that Zeus, fearing to anger Nyx, held in its fury at bay, and in this way Hypnos exited the wrath of Zeus by appealing to his powerful mother. This disturbed Zeus only a few times after that. Always fearing Zeus and running back to his mother, Nyx, who would have confronted Zeus with masterful fury. Nyx took on a more important role in several fragmented poems attributed to Orpheus, and Nyx, rather than chaos, is the first principle of which all creation emerges. The theme of Nyx's cage belongs to the ocean as a Heteroid, or somewhere at the edge of the cosmos, as in later Osmos, may be echoed into the philosophical poem of Parmenides. There is no known temple dedicated to Nyx, but statues are known to have been made of her, and a few cult practices of her are mentioned. But according to consensus, she has an oracle on the Octophys of Megara. Now this is a quote from Podronson, so from Consensus. When you have ascended the citadel, which ever at the present day called Karai, yes, from Kar, son of Phronos, you see a temple of Dionysos Nikolatos, a sanctuary built by Aphrodite Esistopia, which she who turned men into love, an oracle called that of Nyx, night, and the temple of Zeus, Kronos, without a roof. Nyx has been worshipped in the background of other cults. Thus, there is a statue called Night in the temple of Emblimus. Spartans have a cult of deep sleep conceived as twins. Tales compared to Cult titles compared to Nyx the rest of the several deities, most notably Desmosius and Aphrodite. Roman authors mentioned cult practices and wrote hymns in their honor. Ovid wrote May 9th, Lumer Nescisus, your ancient rite will be performed. Nox here will be offering to the mute dead. And ninth, this is the astronomy. There wasn't much on astronomy, but what I found interesting is that they mentioned Pluto, and Pluto ties in with Hades, right?
Yes, it does.
And
Yup.
it also, I'm gonna say it for later. In 1997, the International Astronomical Union approved the name Nyx from Mons, mountain peak featured in the planet Venus. Nyx Mons was located at latitude 30 north and longitude 48.5 east on the Venusian surface. But on June 21st, 2006, the International Astronomical Union renamed one of Pluto's recently discovered moons S/2005 P2 Nyx in honor of Nyx to avoid confusion with another star they have named. And that's all the research. There's probably more scattered around, but from what I was able to derive, that's his most, if not the complete set for information.
Nice.
All right. And now, last
Cool.
but not least, Lilith, your turn to shine.
I have like two. So
Okay.
I'm gonna start with Aphrodite. So this is a bunch of like the way I do my notes is different conceptions of her. So there might be like one thing I say in the beginning, and it might be the complete opposite I say with something else in my notes. So it's about this different misconceptions of her and who she is.
So like
just keep
different
that in
people's
mind.
opinions,
Yeah, different people's opinions and
different stories.
yeah.
All right.
So, starting off, Aphrodite is an Olympian goddess of love, beauty, sexual pleasures, and fertility. And I don't know why, but it seems like whenever I do these researches, I always get fucking like the goddess that represents love, beauty, sexual pleasures, and fertility. Since we've been doing
Because you're
this,
sexy.
I guess so,
Yeah.
man.
That's
But,
disgusting.
She is regularly attended by a few of her children of the Erotes. I might butcher some words here, but I'll try my best. who are capable of stirring up passion in both mortals and gods at the goddess's will. Portrayed as both irresistible and unattainable, Aphrodite was born near the coast of Cythera, out of foam. Uranus's castrated genitals created when they fell into the sea. Even though married to Hephaestus, she had affairs with all Olympians except Zeus and Hades, most famously with Ares.
Hades.
Well, what?
Hades.
Yeah,
You said
she
Hades.
didn't. No, I said it's not. I said Hades or whatever. She
Alright.
didn't sleep with him. And Ares, the god of war. She also had famous romances with two mortals, Anchises and Adonis. Aphrodite's name is usually linked with the ancient Greek word for sea foam, which fits nicely with the story of her at birth. However, modern scholars think that both Aphrodite and her name penetrate from ancient Greece, and that the story actually came because of the goddess name.
Real quick, IROC
Mhm.
Green Raven says, I want to be a god. Cryface. Flex on Hades. Decline Zeus's PP privileges.
Oh my gosh. So, portrayal
that one.
and symbolism. If Apollo represented the ideal of the perfect male body to the Greeks, Aphrodite was certainly the most appropriate female counterpart. Beautiful and enchanting, she was frequently depicted nude, and assumedly perfect maiden, infinitely desirable as infinitely out of reach. She was sometimes represented alongside Eros, and with some of her major attributes and symbols: a magical griddle in a shell, a dove and a sparrow, roses and myrtles. Once, during an important religious festival at the Hyteria, Phryne decided to swim naked in the sea. The famous painter Apelles was so overwhelmed by the exquisite sight that the sea, many artists have tried recreating it during the centuries past. The sculpture had a bit more luck than Apelles. He also modeled his celebrated sculpture of Aphrodite after Phryne, but a copy of the sculpture has survived to this day. It is the first life-size female nudes in history. Plato says that when Aphrodite saw the sculpture, she said, "Alas, where did you see me naked?" Aphrodite's birth, so this is more about her birth. Homer and Hesiod tell two different stories about the origin of Aphrodite. According to the former, Aphrodite was the daughter of Zeus and the Titaness Diana, thus making her a second-generation goddess, much like most Olympians. However, Hesiod retells the much more famous myth. According to him, Aphrodite was born when Uranus' genitals fell into sea, after he was castrated by his son Cronus. The god of love emerged from the waters on a scallop shell, fully grown, nude, and more beautiful than anything anyone had ever seen before or since. The mighty Aphrodite, the goddess, even gods couldn't resist. So this is more. This is about Aphrodite married to Hephaestus. Aphrodite was so. It's weird spell. It's Hephaestus. Hephaestus or something. I don't know.
Close enough.
Aphrodite was so lovely that the three virgin goddesses, Artemis, Athena, and Hestia, were immune to her charms and power. Unsurprisingly, the second she got on Olympus, she inadvertently wreaked havoc among the other gods, each of whom instantly wanted to have her for himself. So, as to prevent this, Zeus hurriedly married her along to Hephaestus, the ugliest among the Olympians. Of course, this merely aggravated the problem. Aphrodite didn't plan to remain faithful, so she was planning to be a little stinky, man. Aphrodite and Ares, it's Ares, Ares or something.
Aries, yeah.
So she started an affair with someone as destructive and as violent as herself, Ares. Helios, however, saw them and informed Hephaestus, after which the cuckold god made sure to reverse a fine
Cuckold?
bronze. Yeah,
Oh God.
yeah,
Is that real?
He's the god of
Yeah.
cuckolding.
Well,
I guess
shit.
they were trying to like insult him or something. I don't know.
Well, also the hepatitis god. Is that the ugly? Is that the ugly god?
Yeah, the Hephaestus is the
Well, then
most
is he
ugliest.
the reason we have hepatitis B and C?
A fine bronze
Thanks
net
God.
Thanks,
which
God.
ensnared the couple the next time they lay together in bed. To add insult to injury, Hephaestus called upon the other gods to laugh at the ulteriors and free them only after Poseidon agreed to pay for their release. Aphrodite and Poseidon. So these are people that she's like had affairs with.
Well, she's the people
Um,
she's fucked. She's fucked a lot of people.
hmm So poor Hephaestus, he couldn't have known when Poseidon saw Aphrodite naked. He fell in love with her all over again. He must have found out later, since Aphrodite gave Poseidon at least one daughter, Rhode, and she didn't give up on Ares either. In fact, after Bronze Net scandal, she bore the god of war as many as 8 children: Deimos, Phobos, Harmonia, Adistratia, I don't know, the 4 Erots, Antarios, Paphos, and Hymeos. So basically, she kept
Just a
giving
lot of
children to other gods, and she kept slipping around because, fuck that ugly god, I guess.
So, not only did Zeus fuck everything he saw,
Mm-hmm.
So
but
did
Aphrodite
Jade.
did as well.
I mean, she is
So-
the goddess of love and fertility, so.
Well, then, yeah. So she's the reason that we have most of the gods
Mm-hmm.
in Greek mythology. So she's the mother of
Aphrodite
everyone.
and Hermes. Hermes didn't have many consorts, but he did have Aphrodite at least once, as the very name of their offspring, Hermaphrodites, suggests. And if we take into account that Perseus, and usually considered the son of Dionysus and Aphrodite, it seems that only Zeus and Hades managed to never fall for the goddess of love. But the second one didn't even live on Olympus, and the former may have been her father.
Oh snap!
Well,
Yeah.
there's the incest part
Yeah.
Again.
again.
Aphrodite among the mortals. When she wasn't busy making other people fall in love, Aphrodite had some time to fall in love herself. Adonius. Once she took a baby boy she had found beside a myrrh tree to the underworld and asked Persephone to take good care of him. However, when she went to visit him after many years, she instantly fell in love with the now unusual handsome mortal. So he asked to have Adonius, for that was the boy's name, back. Persephone wouldn't allow this. Zeus settled the quarrel by dividing Adonius' time between the two goddesses. However, Adonius preferred Aphrodite, and when the time came, he didn't want to go back to the underworld. Persephone sent a wild boar to kill him, and Adonius bled to death in Aphrodite's arms. The couple had 2 children, Bryon and Gorgonios. And
I remember this
Chilius.
story.
Another time, Aphrodite fell for a Trojan prince called Anchialus. Pretending to be a princess herself, she seduced him and slept with him. Only afterwards, she revealed herself, promising him a noble son and warning him to keep the affair to himself. Anchialus wasn't able to, so he was struck by Zeus's thunderbolt, which blinded him, and he wasn't able to see his son. Aeneas found another mighty Roman Empire, Paris. Paris was the third and final mortal who was blessed with the seeing of Aphrodite naked. This happened when he was tasked with judging who of the 3 goddesses, Aphrodite, Hera, and Athena, was the fairest. Aphrodite promised Paris the most beautiful girl in the world if he chooses her, so naturally he did. Aphrodite made sure that he gets Helen, the Spartan queen, an event which triggered the bloody decade-long Trojan War. Aphrodite, the unforgetting Hippolytus, Eros, Dionysus, and Phaeacic. If you dare to resist the power of Aphrodite, she had the mercy on none of them. Hephaestus referred Artemis to her and vowed the eternal innocence. Aphrodite made his stepmother, Pelia, fall in love with him, which resulted in the death of both her and Hippolytus. After
Um,
Aphrodite found out that Eros had slept with Ares, she cursed to be perpetually unhappy and in love. He almost wounded the goddess during the Trojan War, and suddenly his wife, Elgal, started sleeping around with his enemies. Um,
Really quick,
she,
did you know
Mhm.
any of these stories before you started studying them?
A bit, yeah.
Sweet. Because I
Yeah.
can remember the play of these and shit, were they bad actors?
Yeah.
They were pretty though, so.
Mhm. Fashik would have gone through an even worse ordeal, but unfortunately for her, Eros, Aphrodite's avenger, shot himself instead of her and fell in love with Fashik instead. Aphrodite, so this is another recap about her, so it might be some repeat words. Um, Aphrodite is a ancient Greek goddess associated with love, beauty, pleasure, passion, and procreation. She was synchronized with the Roman goddess Venus. Aphrodite's major symbol includes myrtles, roses, doves, sparrows, and swans. The occult of Aphrodite was largely derived by and from that of the Phocidius god Astarte, a congregate of the East Semitic goddess Ishtar, whose occult was based on the Cimmerian cult of Inanna. Aphrodite's main cult centers with the Cynthia, Cyprus, and Corinthia, and the Athenians. Um, Her main festival was the Astrophilia, which was celebrated annually in midsummer. In Lactonia, Aphrodite was worshipped as a warrior goddess. She was also the patron goddess of prostitutes, an association which led early scholars to propose the concept of scarce prostitution. In Greco-Roman culture, the idea which is generally seen as erroneous. Greek mythology, Aphrodite was married to Hephaestus, the god of blacksmiths and metalworking. Despite
Wow.
this, Aphrodite was frequently unfaithful to him and many of her lovers. In the Odyssey, she was caught in the act in adultery with Ares, the god of war, and the first Homeric hymn to Aphrodite. She seduces the mortal shepherds Anchises. Aphrodite is also the surrogate mother and mother of the mortal shepherd Adonis, who was killed by a wild boar by Persephone, along with Athena and Hera. Aphrodite was also the three goddesses who feuded results in the beginning of the Trojan War. She plays a major role throughout the Iliad. Aphrodite has been featured in the Western art and symbol of female beauty and has appeared in numerous works of the Western literature. She is also a major deity in modern neo-pagan religions, including Church of Aphrodite, Wicca, and Hellenismus. Facts about Aphrodite. So this is a list of facts. Aphrodite was the goddess of fertility, love, and beauty. Two different stories explain the birth of Aphrodite. The first simple, she was a child of Zeus and Dione. According to the second story, however, she rose from the foam of the sea. Aphrodite was married to Hephaestus, but Aphrodite did not enter the union of her own volition. She and Ares conceived Harmonia and eventually married Herotus. She was the mother of Hematoius by Hermes. Aphrodite and her son Eros, Cupid, teamed up to cause Zeus to fall in love with a human named Erophia. Aphrodite loved Adonis. She saw him when he was born and determined that he should be hers, assigned to Persephone for his care, but Persephone fell in love with Adonis also and would not give him back. Finally, Zeus had to meditate. He judged that Adonis should spend half his years with each. Aphrodite used a swan-drawn car to easily guide through the air. Although Aphrodite and Hera were not friends, Hera went to the goddess of love for help and abhorred to assist the heroes in their quest of the golden fleece. Aphrodite, Hera, and Athena were the top three contenders of the golden apple marked for the fairest. When asked Zeus to judge the contest, but he refused, Paris, the son of the king of Troy, judged the contest instead. Each of the three goddesses promised him something in return. He chose Aphrodite as the winner of the apple. The story of the judgment of Paris was considered to be the real reason behind the Trojan War. During the Trojan War, Aphrodite fought on the side of Paris. Aphrodite rescued Paris from the Menelaus by enveloping him with a cloud, taking him back to Troy. Aphrodite owned a girdle that contained her enchantments. Hera borrowed it once to seduce Zeus in order to distract him from the Trojan War. Aphrodite gave Harmonia a necklace that brought disaster to a later generation. Prostitutes considered the goddess of love their patron. Aphrodite had a few mortal lovers. One of the most noble was in the Trojan shepherd Anchises. The two of them conceived Aeneas. Corinth was the center of Aphrodite's worship. Earlier Greek art depicts the goddess as the nude. She was the model for the famous sculpture Venus de Milo. Aphrodite and Cupid inherited the love between Jason, hero of the quest of the Golden Fleece, and the daughter of the Colchian king. So this is more about the Trojan War. In mythology, Aphrodite is cited as partly responsible for the Trojan War. At the wedding of the Pleiades and Thetis, Eris, goddess of the strife, offered a golden apple for the most beautiful goddess. Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite viewed for the honor, as Zeus appointed the Trojan prince Paris as the judge. To influence his decision, Athena promised to strengthen invincibility. Hera offered regions of Asia and Europe, and Aphrodite offered the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris chose Aphrodite, so the fair Helen of Sparta. However, as she was already the wife of Menelaus, Paris abducted of Helen, provoked the Spartan king, and enlisted assistance of his brother Agamemnon, and sent an expedition to Troy to take back Helen. So basically, Aphrodite, Athena, and Hera offered something to Paris for them to get picked. As for Aphrodite, she offered an already married woman, and that caused the spark of the Trojan War.
Well, damn. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really
And-
fucked up story. I can
Yeah,
remember that.
it's really fucked.
A lot of this mythology is fucked.
It is. And how do you think
Mhm.
an 8-year-old felt whenever they had to read this?
Describes the goddess of quick glancing, foam-born, smile-loving, and most often as the golden Aphrodite. Similar in the Homer description of the Trojan War and the Lailis, she described as the golden and smiling, and supports the Trojans in the war. In the notable episodes, Aphrodite protects her son Ares in the Diomedes and saves the hapless Paris from the wrath of the Melians. So this is the different chalk reports about her. So this is more or less when people use her as deity work and stuff.
Mhm.
So sacral chakras, second chakra located in the navel, from the sacrum up through the sexual organs. Also known as the sweetness, this chakra regulates our desires, creativity, self-expression, and intimacy. Residing behind our sexual organs, it helps regulate our ovaries and testes, as well as our sexuality. Connected to the element of water, obstacle is shame. So she works with the sacral area of the chakras. Yeah. Let's see. Symbols of Aphrodite is, of course, seawater, birds, birds, geese, swans, ducks, gold, the sun, dawn, flowers, lilies, poppies, myrtles, Nacrasi, but mostly famous the rose, red to represent the blood of the heart, flowers of the sexual organs of plants, fruits, apple, pomegranate, trees, cinnamon, and myrrh. Tools like things, if you're going to work with her as a deity in witchcraft, these are some things you could use for her as your altar tools. Stones, amber, citrine, orange chameleon, orange aventurine, moonstone for sacral chakra, pearls, jade, sapphire, rose quartz for Aphrodite, flowers with petals, white or red roses, lilies, poppies, altar cloth, orange for sacral chakra, or pale blue or green for Aphrodite, and sea foam, essential oils, rose, jasmine, clarity, sage, yingling. Water is a chalice or bowl of seawater. Fruits and herbs, pomegranate, apple, cinnamon sticks, mints, and grapes. Gold, jewelry or beautiful gold items, feathers, swan, duck, or geese. Animals, doves, swan, dolphins, bees, and goats. Symbols, other symbols for Aphrodite are triangles, seashells, and mirrors. A photo of Aphrodite, a token is something that gives you passion. Candles, red, white, or gold for Aphrodite, orange for sacral chakra. There is some stuff about like ritual working with her, but I'm just going to skip over that. So that's what I got for Aphrodite. So basically, she was a little Tatiana.
I have a question.
What?
Who
What's your
took her virginity though?
I don't
I
know,
think she
man.
took her own.
Yeah, probably. Let me load up my notes for Pan. Also, take a drink of fucking water because my fucking throat hurts.
Already? Damn.
Okay. So Pan is like, I don't think he's connected to anybody. He's just doing his own thing, I think. But, yeah, because like how Aphrodite was connected somewhat to everybody, they had some type of relation or interaction. I don't think Pan is even like close to that.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
He has connections with Tinkerbell. It's fine.
How do you even spell his name?
Pan, like literally a pan.
Oh my god, it is okay.
Okay, so this is what I got for him. It's not that much. It's like only like 5 pages, but with small notes.
Okay.
So Pan, part man, part goat. Pan was the god of wild grooves, shepherds, and flocks. Born in the Arcadia to Hermes and the Dryad, Pan was a precocious child whose goat's feet and horned head delighted gods, but startled mortals. Nymphs weren't too happy with his looks either, and as such, Pan loved them. They almost never loved him back. One of them, Syrinx, chose to be transformed into marsh reeds to save herself from Pan's advances. Pan cut the reeds and joined them side by side in decreasing order, thus creating the very first set of panpipes. Ever since then, he was rarely seen without the instrument. So this is his family regions. Pan's parentage is a bit ambiguous, but according to most sources, he was the son of Hermes and a dryad, whether Dryrope, the daughter of the Arcadian hero Dryropes, or Penelope of Mantinea, possible due to the name confusion error. Even early authors sometimes make him the son of Odysseus' wife, typically keeping Hermes as the father, but sometimes swapping him for Apollo. According to the oddest one of these stories, Pan didn't have a divine parent at all, but was, in fact, the fruit of Penelope's affair with all of the 108 suitors. Pan's role. Pan was born as a mature child in Arcadia. His distinct appearance, half goat, half man, delighted the hearts of all gods, which is why they named him Pan, meaning all. In addition, Pan's name is the basis of which the word panic is ultimately depraved portrayal. Much like his father Hermes, Pan seemed to have a precocious child. From his birth, sings the poet of the harmonic hymn to Pan. He was marvelous to look upon, with the goat's feet and 2 horns, a noisy, very merry, laughing child. This feeling, however, wasn't shared by the nurses, who fled to lift Pan at the very moment they saw his uncouth goat horns, face, and full-on beard. Name. Gods tend to see things differently from the mere mortals, so it should surprise nobody that once Hermes wrapped Pan in the warm skins of the mountain hares and brought him there before the Olympians, all the immortals were glad in heart. In fact, since Pan means all in ancient Greek, it all believed that the origins of Pan could be traced back to this event. A realm and rule. Pan's homeland and the main seat of the worship was Arcadia, the mountainous, wild, and rustic central region of the Peloponnese. I don't know. Here, the god spent most of his days wandering the forest, playing hunting melodies on his pipes, chasing nymphs, and taking naps to secluded places during the heat of the noontide. Pan's shout. Most of the time, the great god was born in amusing and animal presence, but he loved his nymphs even more than he loved his nymphs, which explains why the ancient Greeks believed that they're fairly dangerous to disturb them. Once set, Pan was known to be able to allow an angry, blood-curdling shout which inspired a sudden sensation of fear and anxiety in everyone unfortunate enough to hear it. Even now, they say Pan's unseen presence in these lonely and rocky, mountainous places cause people to suddenly be overwhelmed with a feeling of frantic alteration and distress. To this day, the feeling bears the same for the rustic god's panic. So it's said to say whenever you're in like a forest or whenever you are in a mounty area, whenever you get the sudden fear of uneasiness and kind of anxiety, that's Pan's doing, because you're intruding his forest and his plane. Pan
Lovely.
and music. Pan was the interior of the musical instrument called the panpipes or syrinx, which he learned to play so well that he ended up challenging Apollo himself to a musical contest. Unsurprisingly, he lost. Sphinx, a beautiful nymph. Sphinx was a follower of Artemis, which means that she was vowed to the chastity above all things of life. Unfortunately for her, once he saw her, Pan made the opposite his priority. So he started relentlessly pursuing her through the woods of Arcadia. Once Sphinx reached the river Landon, she realized that she could go no further. So she started praying to the river nymphs to save her, and they did. They transformed her into a bunch of marsh reeds. To the very moment, Pan spreads his hands and grabbed her. Once he realized he was embracing shrubs instead of the nymph's body, Pan sighed in disappointment. To his amazement, he sighed and took the grass-like plants and held them in his embrace, and they, in turn, gave off a beautiful melody. Memorized by it, Pan cut the marsh reeds into different lengths and joined them side by side in decreasing order. Thus, God created the first set of panpipes, which resemblance of his lost love. He chose the name Sphinx, and some Arcadian shepherds still play the very same instrument. So basically, there was this being called Sphinx, and Pan fell deeply in love with him. And she was scared, she was like, get the fuck away from me. So she ran off to the river, and she prayed that she would be disguised, and so she prayed to the river nymphs and stuff. And they turned her to a pile of, like, weeds. And so Pan got really upset because he thought, like, oh, she's gone forever. So he sat beside the reeds and, like, hugged the pile of reeds, but it made, like, a really charming sound. So those reeds was actually Syrinx. And so he cut down and killed Syrinx, thinking it was just a pile of
damn!
reeds. And
Yeah, I kind of got that.
and turned her into a bag of pipes, and that's the instrument he plays. So
Congrats!
yeah. He killed his first love without knowing.
Instead of my first girlfriend turned into the moon, it's my first girlfriend turned into some pipes.
Literally.
Yep.
Just, that's rough, buddy.
Oh well.
So this is about the musical contest, I believe, with Apollo. Pan became a great magician, and everyone admired his playing. However, he was no match for Apollo, and predictably, once he resolved to challenge the Olympian, he lost almost unanimously to the sexquintal musical contest. Midas, the king of Perugia, was the only one who gave victory to Pan. Apollo thought this vote called for a fitting gift, so he rewarded Midas with a pair of ass's ears. I don't know what the fuck that meant.
Basically, it was donkey ears.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another word for donkeys,
lovely.
asses.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well.
The more
Pan
you
and
know.
Pan and his nymphs. Pan was a luscious god, so Syrinx wasn't the only nymph he tried pursuing. So Syrinx is also what he named his pipes after he killed her, in memorial of her pursuing. However, even though he wasn't at all picky when it came to women, he was just too odd and unattractive to be loved back by them. Pity was another nymph who referred to transform into a plant in her case, the pine tree, to be Pan's objective of desire, and Echo was too inflated with the Nuscassis to even notice the advances of the pastoral god. He did complete one pretty admirable conquest, though, that of Selene, the moon goddess, whom he tricked by wrapping himself in sheepskin and luring her into the woods as she was riding a silver chariot through the night.
My man.
Death of Pan. As the Egyptian sailor Thamas was sailing through the western coast of Greece at first years of the Christian era, he heard a divine voice calming that the great god Pan is dead. If true, this would make Pan one of the very few Greek gods, if not the only one to actually die. Pan, the god of the wild. Pan is considered to be one of the oldest Greek gods. He is associated with nature, wooded areas, and pasture lands, from which his name was derived. The worship of Pan began by the rustic areas far from the populated city centers, and therefore he did not have a large temples built to worship him. Rather, worship of Pan centered in nature, often caves and grottos. Pan ruled over shepherds, hunters, and rustic music. He was the patron of god of Arcadia. Pan was often a company of the woods of nymphs and deities of the forest. Pan powers. Like other gods of Olympus, Pan possessed enormous strength. He could also run for long periods of time and was impervious to injury. He could transform objects into different forms and be able to teleport himself from Earth to Mount Olympus and back. He deciphers at the stewed of the wonderful sense of humor, Pan and music. The mythological stories involving Pan usually involved his romantic interest in lovely goddesses of the woods, who spurred his adventures and get turned on an inanimate object to escape him, or otherwise flees from his ugly appearance. One of the stories considering Civis a beautiful wood nymph, she flees, this is more about it, flees into the goddess and turns herself into a river reed in order to hide as the winds blow through the reeds. It makes a gentle music sound because he does not know which reed to sing. He cuts from several reeds to form them into a line, the mythical instrument, the pan flute. Pan's image is often displayed with his instrument, but he ended up killing his first love in the process. Pan gave humans the word panic. One story involving Pan is the Tale of War, which Pan helps his friend survive a vicious struggle by letting out an immersed cry that frightened his enemy and caused him to run away. From the story, we get the word panic, the sudden uncontrollable fear that leads to people and irrational behavior. It's said that when you feel panic or see the word panic, it's formed and its starting place was from Pan. So Pan created the word and feeling panic. Pan in the modern world. Over the ages, Pan has been a symbol of force of nature. In the 1880s, interest in a mythological figure revived in communities organizing festivals in which Pan was the center figure. Mythical stories of Pan annex abound, and he is continuously to be figured representing the ancient mystery of the forest, hunting activities, and wildlife. And like other gods of ancient Greece, Pan embodies many of the qualities of the world over which he ruled. It displays as an energetic, sometimes frightening, with the wild, unbridled creative forces of nature that makes him an interesting and often entertaining character. And that's what I have about Pan.
Cool.
So in recap, he had a terrible love life because everyone thought he was ugly.
That's so sad for a guy.
In recap, he's a creep.
Honestly, hashtag relatable.
Yeah, so he just wanted to be loved and accepted because even like his ancestors and people above him thought he was ugly, and because he was half goat, half human, and he just wanted to be loved and accepted. And so whenever he tried, they would of course run away. And then he found this new love, which was the love for music and his flute, which is now when you look him up, he's always drew with his flute.
Aww.
Yeah, so he was just a sad bean.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Is that
I
why
mean, I can
was-
relate to that.
Is that why you
He
did
was
him?
sad being with anger issues. No, I just thought he was interesting. I wanted to learn more about him because I know some people actually use him as deity work and working with him in like witchcraft and stuff. But I just thought it was interesting because a lot of people decipher him as like a bad person, a bad like evil god, and some people just figure.
No,
him
he's
as...
just sad boy.
He just
Sad
sounds
boy
like a
hour.
little bit of
He's
a
a
creep
sad
that could-
boy. He's a sad
Yeah.
boy with anger issues because apparently
He's a creep that
he
needs to
strikes
learn how to be
evil.
better.
More or less, I just think he has some issues he needs to work on. Because he's the one that created
we
fear
all?
and panic in people. So
Yeah, but he didn't mean to.
I mean, if you enter his
Some he
forest,
probably
you get
did.
mad. But yeah, that's all
He
I
just
have.
gotta work on some things, don't we all?
Yeah.
So does anybody else have anything else they want to say? I know. I think Jack entered the call.
Yes.
They did.
I don't know if
did.
he's.
No, I did. Sorry.
Do you have anything that you studied on?
I wasn't able to. Sorry.
It's okay.
Don't worry
What?
about it, bro.
I was just. It might have been because I was. I think it because I was like sick and I wasn't like very energetic and.
That's fine.
Well,
So I think that's it.
with
That's
that,
everything.
I hope y'all enjoyed this brief rundown on Greek god and goddesses. Next,
There's a lot we didn't cover. Keep that in mind.
We just
Take a
skimmed
couple.
it. Skimmed the surface.
Mhm.
yes,
Not even that.
There's like a whole thing about mine that there was some other stuff that I could have gone over, but I just chose not to, just for time's sake, and also because
yeah.
it
Like,
does.
if we wanted to get into it, it'd probably be like 7 streams worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of gods, and there's a lot of stuff we could have covered here.
So
Especially
next
with
we are
Aphrodite
doing.
mating everywhere.
I could, yeah, and I could also went like over like some
So
of the rituals that that series had when it comes to I think she's more associated with paganism and Wicca. So there's some rituals that I could have went over, but I chose not to just for the sake of time, and also because
Same
this
with
is not
Aphrodite.
is also because this isn't a stream for witchcraft. So, next.
What's next?
Not next Thursday. I'm sorry. This upcoming Thursday, we're doing Rome god and goddesses. Roman god and goddesses, and then afterwards, I'm going to have a talk with my constituents here, and we're going to discuss what is going to go on after this week. I hope y'all enjoyed. Again, I'm just going to make this more specific just because we've been running into so many issues lately. Our set stream schedule is going to probably shift. We're still going to do it on Mondays and Thursdays, but time-wise, we don't know. It's just going to be when we can.
Whatever information, we get.
Whenever we can, we are all available to stream. That's when we're streaming it, so we might stream it. There's no set time, so just to point that out there for anyone who is now watching. And with that, I'm gonna say thank you for watching, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Bye, y'all.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.